Today on Retiring Well with Michael Reese, we'll talk about variable annuities and the hidden fees that come with them.
They are one of the most expensive financial tools out there.
What are those fees and how will they impact your overall returns?
Whenever we run an analysis on variable annuities, it is very common to see total fees falling in the 3 to 4% range. We have seen variable annuities even over 4% a year.
What does it cost to leave the contract, and does that make sense for you?
The point is, there is a cost a lot of times to leave these contracts. Once you're in, you're stuck in them for a while, and you have to do the analysis.
All this and more on Retiring Well, starting right now.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese, and I'm really excited about this week's show. We're going to talk about variable annuities. And what specifically we want to talk about is all the hidden fees that come along for the ride. You know, variable annuities are some of the most expensive tools you can invest in. And a lot of people, we find, they don't know what they're paying. Today, I'm going to help you uncover what it is you're paying if you have a variable annuity. But before I do that, like I do every week, I want to take a moment and share with you why we do this show. See, I believe your best is yet to come. You know, the second half of your life, retirement, it's going to be 20 to 30 years of fantastic times. You're going to be able to do the things you've always wanted to do. You're going to be able to pursue activities that are meaningful, that provide fulfillment in life. But you also have to recognize that retirement's like 20 to 30 years of unemployment. That's right, 20 to 30 years of unemployment. And you've got to make sure that you're making really good choices with your money so it supports all those activities you want to do for that 20 to 30 years. You know, one of the problems we have in the world today is the financial industry as a whole focuses on growth and accumulation. It focuses on how do you get to retirement? How do you build up your retirement savings? But they kind of leave you hanging at that point. What they don't do a very good job of, and why we do this show, is because you're going to need information on, well, okay, great. What do I do once I get there? You know, how do I protect? How do you protect what you've worked so hard to build? How do you take income? And how do you even grow your portfolio while protecting and taking income? How do you do all of that at the same time? So getting to retirement, that takes one set of skills. Getting through retirement is a completely different set of skills altogether, and that's where we come in. All right, every week I like to ask you this question. Have you had your complete retirement review done yet? Have you had your personalized retirement review done? If you haven't, call the number on the screen. Just call the number on the screen. Come visit with us so we can run a review of where you are with your retirement planning. We take a look at 4 things. We take a look at your retirement income plan. How are you going to pay for that 20 to 30 years of unemployment? What about a risk analysis? How much risk are you taking with your portfolio? You know, we find that when people call the number, they come in, and by the way, this is free. There's no obligation. People come in, they think they're taking this much risk, when in reality, they're taking this much. Lately, it hasn't been a problem because markets have been going up. But you know what happens when markets go down? You get slammed real fast. We also take a look at what you're paying your advisors, your money managers. I mean, why is it that the financial world, the financial industry, works so hard to hide what they're charging you? Is it too much to ask for transparency? We don't think it is. Yet a lot of the financial industry does. So what we do is we help you peel back the covers. We show you, here's exactly what you're paying your money managers. And, of course, we want to run a tax analysis. Nobody wants to give the IRS more money than they have to. And we run a tax analysis to help you figure out how do you minimize your taxes, not just today, but down the road. What are you doing with your highest taxed asset, your IRA, your 401ks, your 403bs? Those are your highest taxed assets. How are you transitioning out of those assets into more tax-free accounts in an intelligent way so you're paying the least amount of tax you can on that transition? What does that process look like? We talk about all that when we do this complete retirement review. So make sure you pick up the phone, call the number on the screen. Let's get this done for you. All right, this week we're talking about variable annuities and all the fees. Now, one of the things that we need to understand about variable annuities is that they are one of the most expensive financial tools out there. There are many layers of expenses, and you need to know what they are. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you what those layers are. And then in the next segment, I'm going to give you a real life example of someone that came into our office and they had a variable annuity, and I'll share with you exactly how the numbers worked out for them. They were a very typical case. So what are all the layers of fees in a variable annuity? Well, the first layer is something called mortality and expense. So what is that? The way variable annuities work, pretty much all of them, is that when you put money into this account, if you're invested in this mutual fund portfolio, so your portfolio could go up in value and it could go down in value. But when you die, if you have money inside of one of these accounts, when you die, the insurance company promises to pay your beneficiaries either the account value or the amount you put in, whatever is the larger number. So if you put in a certain amount of money and your account went down, they pay the amount you put in. There's a mortality fee they charge for that benefit. The next layer is administration, because somebody's got to pay for the accountants. The next layer is, of course, riders. Almost all variable annuities these days are sold with some type of income rider or death benefit rider. They all cost money. You can have multiple riders on an account, so you have multiple layers of fees there. And then the last one is the mutual fund expenses. I mean, you're invested in mutual funds inside of these things, so all the expenses that come along with mutual funds are inside of that annuity. So we're talking about 4 layers of fees here. Now, what did I say? These are the fees. Now, don't go anywhere, because in the next segment, what I'm going to do right after the break, I'm going to share with you an example, a real-life example, very typical, of how this breaks down in the real world.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come. Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join TV host and certified financial planner Michael Reese for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner, and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility, how to find growth and security in today's volatile market, how to prevent outliving your money, how decisions in Washington, D.C. are affecting your retirement, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the 4 ways to make sure your advisor is giving you expert advice, and much more. Choose the date that works best for you. October 13th or October 15th at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Austin. Presentations start at 6:30 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com/events to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Have you ever heard of the 5% rule? Simple. Consistently earn 5% each year and then take 5% as income. Great, but in this new economy and market volatility, does it work? If I need 5% as income from my savings and the market drops 30% in 1 year, then the 5% I need now turns to 7.1%. Now I have to consistently get 7.1% or more or drop my income accordingly. If interested in a properly structured income plan, then please call the number on the screen.
Welcome back. We're talking about variable annuities this week and the number of fees that you have in variable annuities. And I shared with you in the last segment what the fees are. Now let's look at a real life example. So we had a couple come into our office and they had a variable annuity. They had about $1 million in this thing. And here is how these different fees broke down for them. The mortality and expense fee, it was pretty standard. It was 1.35%. That's a very common number in the variable annuity world. They charge 1.35%. Basically, again, what are they charging for? Well, if you put in this case, the clients have $1 million in there. If it went down, if the market goes down to say 700,000 or 800,000 and then they die, they pay the beneficiaries the $1 million, whatever amount they put in. So that's a very typical fee for that kind of thing. The next, administration, 0.25%. Again, pretty typical. Rider fees. Now, these folks had a rider. It was an income rider. It basically said that they could withdraw a certain amount of money each year for as long as they lived. And that amount of money that they could withdraw was 5% or $50,000 on $1 million. Okay? And then the last fee were the mutual fund expenses. Now, these are 0.95%. That was just what the prospectus said. Now, if you've watched a show in the past on mutual funds, you know, and if you read the Wall Street Journal or Barron's or Forbes, you know that typically mutual funds have another 1% of fees that are hidden, that they don't talk about. But I'm going to ignore those hidden fees for this discussion. I'm only going to focus on what the prospectus said. So if you add it all up, these folks were paying 3.2% every single year. Think about that for a minute, 3.2%. Now, I will tell you this. Whenever we run an analysis on variable annuities, it is very common to see total fees falling in the 3 to 4% range. We have seen variable annuities even over 4% a year. So in their case, these folks were actually a little bit towards the lower end of that, of those parameters. I mean, 3.2 is a lot closer to 3 than it is 4, right? So now what I want to do is, I want to walk over to the whiteboard for a moment and talk about how this affected them. Okay, so let's head on over here. And so they had, if you recall, about $1 million in this account. About $1 million. And it was not exactly $1 million. I think it was slightly more, but this is close enough. Now, if we do the math, they were paying 3.2%. What is that number in real dollars? Here it is, $32,000 a year. $32,000 a year to manage that account. I gotta ask you a question. Does that seem like a lot of money to you to manage an account? I mean, it did to me, and I'll tell you who it really sounded like a lot of money to. It did to them. That was a huge deal to them. Now, the other thing that was going on is, remember, they had this rider where they were getting 5% income. So what's 5% of $1 million? $50,000. So this was the fees. This was their income. Now, if we do the math, this is what they started saying. They brought this up. They said, well, wait a minute. We're paying 32 grand a year to these guys. And on top of that, we're taking out 50. That's $82,000 a year coming out of that portfolio. That means that thing's got to make 8% a year just to break even. It earns 8%. We thought if it earned 8, we'd be making some money. No, we need 8% just to break even. What do you think they felt the odds were that they would average 8% going forward over time? I mean, not great, not in today's world, right? So they're in this account, they're paying 32 grand a year, they're taking 50 grand out, so essentially $82,000 a year is coming out of this thing. They need to earn 8% to break even. You know what they're thinking? Holy cow, we got to get out of this thing because we're just going to lose money here. This is not a winning scenario for us. And, you know, I can't disagree. It's not. But my question for you is, hey, if you have a variable annuity, what do your numbers look like? What do your numbers look like? I bet they're not too different. Now, I don't want you going anywhere. Coming up after the break, I'm going to talk about how they chose to get out of this thing.
You've always known how to enjoy life, to make every moment count, to explore and push the boundaries, to never stop growing. And with all this, you know your best is yet to come. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Portfolio stability, tax reduction strategies, lifetime income, financial security in any economy. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come. Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join TV host and certified financial planner Michael Reese for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner, and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility, how to find growth and security in today's volatile market, how to prevent outliving your money, how decisions in Washington, D.C. are affecting your retirement, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the 4 ways to make sure your advisor is giving you expert advice, and much more. Choose the date that works best for you. October 13th or October 15th at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Austin. Presentations start at 6:30 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com/events to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Welcome back. We've been talking about variable annuities and all the fees that come along for the ride. And I shared with you a real life story of a client. They had roughly $1 million in a variable annuity. they were paying 3.2% a year, or $32,000 a year in fees. And then they're taking out 50 grand. So, I mean, they can just see themselves losing money hand over fist in this scenario. So the question is, they said, hey, I want to get out of this. But we have a problem, because what these variable annuities often have are these things called surrender penalties. Basically, they're penalties for early withdrawal. And sometimes they're pretty significant. And when they are, you have to make a decision. Do I stay? Am I stuck there? Do I have to keep paying all these dollar amounts every year, all these fees? Or should I just get the heck out of there, take my lumps, and pay the one-time exit fee? So the question is often this: what does it cost you to stay? And what does it cost you to leave? That's really the question. How much does it cost to stay? How much does it cost to leave? Well, let's head over to the whiteboard again so we can look and see how this scenario really broke down for the couple that came to visit with us. So you might recall, we still have this up on the board, these folks, they're paying $32,000 a year in fees. That's how much they were paying. So this is the cost to stay. $32,000 a year as long as they're in that account. Now, they have been in that account for a few years, and in their case, their surrender penalty, they were at 5%. It was just coincidental that they were pulling 5% income, but their fee to leave, cost to leave, 5%. So in other words, if they wanted to leave this account, it would cost them $50,000. That's a pretty big chunk, isn't it? $50K. So instead of getting a check for $1 million, if they left, they'd get a check for $950. So the question that this couple had to do, what they had to face was, well, we're stuck here for another 5 years, and we're going to have to pay this number, $32,000, for the next 5 years. So they did a little math. They said, well, if we stay, it's going to cost $32K for 5 years. Well, that's going to cost, they're projected to give that company $160,000 over the next 5 years. $160K. So if they stay, they're going to pay that number. What are they going to give the company if they leave? That number, $50,000. Well, I asked them, I said, your choice. Your choice. What do you want to do? You want to get out of this deal? It's going to cost you one time. There's an exit fee. Or do you want to stay? And if you stay, it's going to cost you this number over time. Which number do you want to pay them? Well, I think in this case it's pretty obvious that they said, well, I think we'd rather pay a fee of $50,000 than $160,000. I mean, I have a 9-year-old daughter who even can do the math on that one, right? But the point is, there is a cost a lot of times to leave these contracts. Once you're in, you're stuck in them for a while. And you have to do the analysis. What's it going to cost to stay? I'm sorry, down here. What's it going to cost to leave? Which number best matches what makes sense for you?
You've worked hard for your money, and your best is yet to come. You've reached a point where you don't put your money at risk anymore. The road ahead doesn't scare you because your money is secure and working for you. Centennial Wealth Advisory, portfolio stability, tax reduction strategies, lifetime income, financial security in any economy. Essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Join TV host and certified financial planner Michael Reese for an informative and exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn how to protect your assets from market volatility, how to find growth and security in today's volatile market, how to prevent outliving your money, how decisions in Washington, D.C. are affecting your retirement, how to safeguard your assets from unnecessary taxation, the 4 ways to make sure your advisor is giving you expert advice, and much more. Choose the date that works best for you. October 13th or October 15th at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Austin. Presentations start at 6:30 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit send-wealth.com/events to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Essential Financial Strategies for a Comfortable Retirement. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Let's go ahead and recap what we talked about today. First, variable annuities. They have a lot of different fees. And here's the problem. None of them are shown on your statement. None of them. You can read it in your 300-page prospectus, but they're not shown on your statement. And those fees can have a significant impact on your overall returns. I mean, if you're giving the company a bunch of money, then that's money that's not being given to you. But leaving those contracts, a lot of times it can cost some money. And you have to do some math. You have to figure out, well, what does this cost me to stay? So if you stay in that account, what is that going to cost you for the life of that contract? What's it cost to exit? What kind of penalties do you pay to leave? How do those two numbers compare? As we wrap up the show today, I'm going to again ask you, call the number on the screen. Get your complete retirement review done. It's absolutely free. There's no obligation. What do? We take a look at your retirement income planning. How are you going to navigate 20 to 30 years of unemployment safely, comfortably, securely? How much risk are you taking with your investments? Are you taking a little bit? You're taking a lot. I know you think you're here. Odds are you're there. And today's topic, fees, investment costs. What are you paying your money managers? Do you have a variable annuity? Bring it in. We'll tell you how much you're paying in fees. And of course, a tax analysis, right? Don't want to give the IRS more money than we have to. Let's make sure you're not. So call the number on the screen. Let's get this done. All right, that's our show this week, folks. Hope you have a great weekend.